Hello everybody. We are Mungo and Stella, owners and operators of Ada Franson Sailing. We've been working and sailing together since 2016 and have sailed to some of the farthest flung corners of the globe.
Whether it's Mexico, the Marquesas, or the Mediterranean.
As nice as those places are, we've come to believe that some of the best sailing grounds in the world truly are right here on our doorsteps. We happily became the custodians of Ada Franson in 2020 and have not looked back since. With Mungo's roots in the West Highlands of Scotland and my family down in Cornwall, there seemed like no better job than taking people sailing and sharing all that these wonderful parts of the world have to offer. Every year of ownership of a historic wooden sailing vessel means another small project to undertake. This year we're focusing on removing and replacing the standing rigging, which means the mast has to come out of the boat, and whilst that is out of the way, we are also upgrading our battery and energy systems on board. Our mast and boom have now been craned off and are currently under a winter cover at Luke Powell's Rhodamary shipyard in Truro. We have stripped it of its old rigging, varnish and fittings, and are well underway to having it all back together by the springtime next year. We also have a lot going on actually on board Ada Franson, as the 24-volt battery system sits around the mast base inside the saloon table. The new batteries have recently arrived, so we're getting ready to put those back in the place of the old ones, and as you'll see, Ada is kind of a bomb site at the moment. But if we've learned anything over the years, it is that if you know you have a big job to do, you may as well just get on with it.
Hello, here we are in the saloon of Ada Franson, where normally we enjoy a nice cosy dinner, but today we are doing some major surgery. This is the front of the saloon table, and these are the fridge and freezers here. And this area here is normally where you see the shiny mast and the the glass rack lives here. But today there's a large hole, and we are preparing this area for our new batteries. Our new batteries are from Victron, and they're going to give us lots more power for the boat. But in order to install them, we need to strengthen this old rickety frame. This frame here is made of steel, and it sits around the mast base. And over time, with water coming down the mast, this whole area has become rusty, and it's actually all fallen apart. So I craned out the batteries yesterday using a chain block and a bar through the mast hole, a rope through the mast hole. So that was quite hard because they're pretty heavy. And now I'm left with this rusty frame. So today we are using our trusty angle grinder to chop the old bolts, which are rusted to oblivion, and get in there, and we're going to remove this whole frame. And then once this frame's out of the boat, we're going to get our good friend James Mackenzie to come along with his welder and make us a new battery frame, and then we're going to put that in, and then we can put our new batteries back in, and then we're going to rewire them all with all new cables and connections and a new fuse panel and a new breaker panel. And we're also hopefully going to end up running some wires so we can get some USB plugs into people's bunks. And this should make basically it's going to make our boat a lot more energy efficient, because it means that we can charge our batteries from our engine like we normally do, but the charge is going to be a lot more efficient, and these batteries are a bit more powerful and they're new, so it'll make us ultimately more eco-friendly, which is great. Okay, I'm going to continue with my grinder now.
This was all very well, but it quickly became apparent that this job was to become a little more than we had bargained for.
Hello, good morning. Well, here we are in Ada Franson's glorious saloon, where last time we were grinding out some bits around the batteries here, and now we have rather gone a bit further than that and run into some more major work that we didn't plan to run into, but such is the life when we have an old wooden boat. So what happened here was we had the batteries in this area, and I think the last video I was grinding the battery racks that they sit in to get them out. So they were all rusty metal, and this was the saloon table where we enjoy meals around, and the fridge and the freezer were in here. Now that's all gone because we have found an area of rot in the mast step. So the mast step is a beam of wood that sits on top of the inside keelson. So there's a wood keelson that runs all the way along the inside of the vessel. The frames and the wood floors run underneath that, and the keelson helps to spread the load out of the mast and the stresses inside the boat longitudinally. So on top of the keelson there's like a wooden beam which is called the mast step. That helps to spread the load from the compression of the mast pushing down when we're sailing, and it helps to spread the load out along the top of the keelson. So what we found when we took the batteries out was an area of rot, probably caused by freshwater ingress, a little bit of rain over the years coming down the mast, getting into that bilge area, and rot had really taken hold in the mast step, which was made out of Iroko. Iroko is quite renowned for rotting, particularly with fresh water involved. There was also a bit of leaking plumbing forward of this area here. Used to be the old shower in that forward area. That had also had a bit of fresh water leaking out of some pipes over the years. So a bit of fresh water from the shower and a bit of fresh water from the rain down the mast over the years, mixed with the Iroko wood buried in the bilges around the mast step, had caused all of the Iroko to succumb to rot. So we had a large area of rot that appeared to go quite deep down, and we needed to get rid of all of that wood so that we could find out how far that rot went and investigate whether it actually went into the keelson or not. Now, that has involved a fairly invasive process. So what we had to do was we had to dismantle the entire saloon table. All of the fridge and freezer was in this area here, and that has been completely destroyed and dug out. And now we're into we're starting to put back in new timbers, thankfully, but we had Iroko here and here, and a plate of Iroko on top, which was what the mast sat on, and they were all, as I said, very rotten. So we had to dig all that out. We dug all that out, and we got back to the original timbers of the ship. So we've got the frames here, the original frames, running underneath the keelson, which is here. And I'm very glad and thankful to report that the original keelson is completely solid and is in really good condition, as is the frames that run underneath it. So that's a relief, because it could have been rather different. We had to dig down into the ballast here to investigate underneath that mast step, underneath that keelson, to make sure everything was solid there. So all of the old original timbers around the keelson appear to be in really good condition, and so it was just the mast step timbers that needed to be replaced. So now, under Luke Powell's kind advice, we are starting to put back in new timbers. So we've got to build the mast step back to how it used to be. But we're not going to use Iroko, we're going to use oak, and we got some nice oak from Luke's yard up in Truro, machined up by the guys there. Clyde machined us up some nice wood. So now we're starting to put that wood back in and to build up the mast step areas around the keelson. So we've got these two pieces of oak. They've just gone in yesterday. They're just dry fitted for the moment. One of them needs a little bit more off it to make sure it's true with the original keelson there. And then on top of that, we've got another piece of oak to come in, which will actually go in two parts, because it has to go up that way. And I'm actually going to extend the original mast step out, because we have this join here in the keelson between this piece here has probably been put in, I reckon, in the 1990s when the Robinsons restored the boat. This is more original keelson, so we're gonna cover that scarf up with a longer beam to help spread the load out and run it back underneath the table so that we don't have any joins in an inaccessible area. So this join here would be underneath the freezer. We don't really want to have the join underneath the freezer. We want to have it out behind the freezer. So we're going to improve what was there basically, and make it slightly better, seeing as we have the wood and the access now. So that's today's project, is to measure up and get fitted the mast step plate, longitudinal beam on top of the old keelson, and that will bolt down into these side partners, as well as these side partners will then bolt onto this keelson. So all of the pressure, all of the load from the mast will be compression, but it will be helping to spread that load out along, all the way along the whole keelson, so you're across all of the structural frames that run underneath. So we're not pinpoint loading any part of the boat, we're really spreading the stresses out into the length of the structure of the boat. So I think what we're going to end up with is a much better mast step than we originally had, and also, more importantly, this has given us a really good opportunity to see an area of the boat that we would never normally be able to see. So we'll be able to see this area and really investigate it and find out what's going on in here. And what we're finding is, apart from the mast step, which was degraded, and that was mostly because of the choice of materials used, apart from that, the original structure of the boat is in really good condition. So just got to put it all back together now, and then look forward to going sailing.